The sun blazed over Washington, reflecting off the glass windows of the FBI headquarters. Inside, agents moved like clockwork, a well-oiled machine of precision, their footsteps echoing through the halls. Folders changed hands, rapid conversations filled the air, and the hum of printers, phones, and hushed exchanges painted the soundtrack of another normal day in the nation's most powerful law enforcement agency. Then something unusual happened. A bark, sharp, insistent, cut through the morning rhythm. Not loud enough to be aggressive, but impossible to ignore. At first, no one paid much attention. A stray dog? Maybe it had wandered too close to the entrance. The city was full of them, after all. But the barking didn't stop. A thin, white-furred dog stood at the glass doors, his paws dusty from the streets, his ribs faintly visible beneath a coat marred by dirt and exhaustion. He wasn't moving away. He wasn't leaving. He was staring, waiting, his deep brown eyes pleading for someone to listen. Agent Lucy Taylor was the first to really notice him. She had just stepped out to grab coffee, but the sight of the dog gave her pause. There was something different about him. A presence and urgency in his gaze that made her stop mid-step. He wasn't just looking for food. He was searching for something or someone. "Hey there, buddy," she murmured, approaching carefully. He didn't back away. If anything, he stepped forward, eyes locked onto hers. Other agents barely spared a glance. One even muttered, "Ignore it, Taylor. Just another stray." But Lucy couldn't. There was something about this dog, this buddy, that wouldn't let her walk away. Crouching down, she pulled a water bottle from her pocket, pouring a small amount into the cap. The dog hesitated for just a second before lapping it up eagerly. He was thirsty. Tired. But more than that, he had a purpose. And then he did something that sent a chill up Lucy's spine. He grabbed her sleeve. Not violently. Not out of fear. He tugged gently, insistently, as if saying, "Come with me." Lucy's breath caught in her throat. She'd seen dogs act strangely before, but this was different. This was deliberate. "You want me to follow you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Buddy pulled again. Lucy stood, her heart pounding. Instinct screamed at her, something was happening here, something beyond logic. She turned, scanning the headquarters. Dozens of agents moved about, oblivious. The air buzzed with classified intelligence, high-profile cases, and national security concerns. No one noticed the dog. No one cared. Except for Lucy. Michael Daniels, head of her division, stepped outside just in time to see what was happening. His sharp eyes narrowed. "Taylor, what the hell are you doing?" His voice was clipped, impatient. Lucy straightened. "Sir, this dog." "It's a dog, Taylor. Get back inside. We have more important things to deal with." Buddy whined, his eyes darting between Lucy and the street beyond. He yanked harder this time, almost pulling her off balance. "Sir, he's not acting like a stray. He's trying to tell us something." Michael let out an exasperated sigh, rubbing his temple. "Taylor, do you hear yourself? We investigate terrorists, serial killers, and cybercrime. Not lost dogs." Lucy clenched her jaw. If she backed down now, she'd regret it forever. "Give me 10 minutes. Just 10. If I'm wrong, I'll take full responsibility." Michael studied her, his frustration warring with something else, curiosity. He wasn't the type to believe in gut feelings, but Lucy had proven herself before. Reluctantly, he nodded. "Fine. But I'm coming with you." A voice cut in from behind them. "Might as well make it 3. Ryan Edwards, the division's top analyst, adjusted his glasses, his usual detached expression tinged with intrigue. "That dog isn't acting randomly," he said, tilting his head. "His behavior patterns are too specific. He's leading her somewhere." Michael rolled his eyes but waved for them to move. "Let's get this over with." As soon as Lucy started walking, Buddy took off, pausing every few steps to make sure they were following. The city streets blurred as they moved, the rush of cars and pedestrians fading into the background. Block after block, Buddy pressed forward, his pace unwavering. He knew exactly where he was going. Lucy's pulse quickened. She wasn't sure what she was expecting, but she knew deep in her gut that this wasn't going to be nothing. They turned a corner, and suddenly everything changed. The bustling streets grew eerily quiet. The air felt heavy. An alleyway stretched before them, lined with abandoned buildings and flickering streetlights. Buddy stopped abruptly, his ears perked, his body rigid. Lucy stepped forward and froze. There, lying in the shadow of a dumpster, was a man. Unmoving. A chill ran down Lucy's spine as she rushed forward, her training kicking in. "Sir? Can you hear me?" No response. Ryan knelt beside her, checking for a pulse. "He's alive." "Barely." Michael pulled out his phone, calling it in. This is Special Agent Daniels. We have an unconscious male, possibly injured. Need medical assistance and a forensics team immediately. Lucy's eyes darted over the man's body. His clothes were torn, his face bruised. And then she saw it, a badge, half hidden in his jacket. FBI. Her breath hitched. He's one of us. Michael's expression darkened. What the hell is going on? Buddy barked, his body low tense. He wasn't done yet. He was trying to tell them something more. Lucy followed his gaze and saw it. A trail of blood smeared across the pavement, leading deeper into the alley. A fresh surge of adrenaline shot through her veins. There's someone else. Buddy whined, pawing at the ground. Without hesitation, Lucy followed the trail, rounding a corner. And nearly stumbled back. A second body. This one still. Lifeless. Michael swore under his breath, stepping forward. This just became a crime scene. Ryan pulled out his tablet, scanning a database. The first guy, Agent Mark Evans. He was undercover. Lucy swallowed hard. And the second? Ryan's face paled. Not FBI. But he turned the screen toward them. A grainy surveillance image of a man, time-stamped a week prior. Confirmed associate of a known terrorist cell. The world seemed to shift. This wasn't random. This wasn't a coincidence. Michael exhaled sharply. Call it in. Get a full team here. Now. Lucy turned to Buddy, her heart pounding. This dog, this stray, this nobody had just led them to something bigger than any of them had imagined. And he wasn't done yet. Buddy lifted his head, staring past them into the darkness beyond. Then he growled. Buddy didn't seem to be wandering aimlessly. Every step he took was deliberate, every turn precise, as if he had memorized this path long ago. He kept glancing back at Lucy, his deep, intelligent eyes locked onto hers as if urging her to trust him. The further they followed him, the more uneasy Michael felt. He prided himself on being a man of logic, but something about this was gnawing at him. Doubt. A rare and uncomfortable feeling for him. What if Lucy was right? What if this dog wasn't just looking for food or attention, but was actually leading them somewhere they needed to go? Ryan, walking beside Michael, couldn't shake the eerie feeling growing inside him. He had been trained to analyze patterns, and this wasn't random. This was a mission. Boss, you can't tell me you don't find this at least a little bit strange, Ryan said, adjusting his glasses as his eyes darted around the increasingly deserted streets. This dog isn't wandering. He's leading. Michael scoffed, but the confidence in his voice was waning. It's just a dog. He repeated it like a mantra, but deep down, he wasn't sure if he believed it anymore. Then Buddy stopped. The sudden stillness sent a ripple of tension through the air. He stood at the mouth of a narrow alleyway, staring at Lucy with an almost human-like intensity, waiting for her to decide. His tail was low, his body tense, as if he were standing at the edge of something monumental. Lucy swallowed hard, her instincts screaming at her to trust him. Is this where you want to take us, Buddy? She whispered. The dog let out a single bark, sharp, urgent, before turning and trotting forward into the alley. Without hesitation, Lucy followed. Michael clenched his jaw, his hands instinctively curling into fists. Everything in his training told him this was ridiculous. He should turn back. He should stop this before it got out of hand. But something inside him wouldn't let him walk away. Damn it, he muttered. Ryan, stay close. They followed, the city sounds fading behind them as the world around them grew quieter, darker. The alleyway twisted into an old industrial sector, long abandoned and forgotten. The buildings here were crumbling, covered in graffiti, and the air had a damp metallic scent that made Lucy's skin crawl. It felt like they had stepped into another world, one untouched by the bustling city they had left behind. This is starting to feel like a horror movie, Ryan muttered under his breath, scanning their surroundings with growing unease. You're not wrong, Michael admitted, hand hovering near his holster. He didn't believe in gut feelings, but everything about this felt wrong. Then Buddy turned one last corner and stopped. In front of them loomed a massive rust-covered warehouse. The structure was old, its broken windows like dark, hollow eyes staring back at them. The tall entrance gate was ajar, creaking slightly in the wind, and weeds had long since overtaken the lot surrounding it. It was a place that should have been abandoned. And yet, this is it, Lucy whispered, more to herself than anyone else. Buddy barked again, running toward the gate and sitting by the entrance, waiting, watching. Michael exhaled sharply. He didn't like this. He didn't like this at all. If this turns out to be nothing, Torres, you're explaining it to the director, he warned. Lucy didn't look away. I'll take full responsibility. Michael hesitated. Then, reluctantly, he pulled out his radio. This is Daniels. I need a perimeter check at an abandoned warehouse. Sending coordinates now. Possible suspicious activity. Proceed with caution. Ryan was already inspecting the ground, his analytical mind kicking in. Boss, look at this. He pointed at faint tire tracks leading toward the entrance. This place isn't as abandoned as it looks. Michael cursed under his breath. They were in deeper than he wanted to be, but now there was no turning back. Lucy crouched beside Buddy, her fingers brushing his matted fur. You brought us here for a reason, didn't you? Buddy responded by scratching at the warehouse door, his body tense with urgency. Michael sighed. All right, let's do this. He pushed open the heavy metal door. The hinges groaned in protest, and as the agents stepped inside, the darkness swallowed them whole. The smell hit them first, thick, suffocating, a nauseating mix of mold, rust, and something metallic. Then the flashlights cut through the gloom, and what they saw made Lucy gasp. Cages. Rows and rows of rusted cages stacked to the ceiling. And inside them, dogs. Dozens of them. Some barely moving, their ribs jutting out from under filthy fur. Others curled in corners, their eyes dull and lifeless. The low whimpers and soft panting filled the space, the sound of suffering in its rawest form. Lucy's stomach twisted in horror. Oh my God! Buddy stood at her side, his ears flat against his head as if to say, this is why I brought you here. Michael's expression hardened. This isn't just an abandoned building. This is a goddamn operation. Ryan was already scanning the area, his sharp mind piecing things together. Boss, look. He pointed to a panel on the far wall, barely concealed. That's not standard wiring. This place is rigged for something bigger. Michael was about to respond when a noise, a sharp metallic creak from deeper in the warehouse. Then footsteps. Someone was here. Michael's hand went to his gun instantly. Stay alert, he ordered in a low voice. Before they could react, shadows moved. Two men emerged from the darkness, both armed. Shit, Ryan started, but the men raised their guns. Gunfire exploded in the silence. The agents ducked behind crates and cages as bullets ricocheted off metal. Dogs yelped, the chaos erupting around them. Lucy clutched Buddy, heart pounding. Stay down, boy, she whispered. But Buddy wasn't listening. The moment one of the men tried to maneuver around the cages, Buddy lunged. A blur of white fur and bared teeth, he sank his jaws into the attacker's arm. The man screamed, his gun clattering to the floor. The distraction was all Lucy needed. She launched forward, disarming the man and pinning him down. Good boy, she whispered. Michael and Ryan handled the second attacker within moments, the fight over almost as soon as it had begun. As silence settled once more, Michael looked around at the grim scene. We're shutting this place down, he declared. Now. Lucy exhaled, adrenaline still coursing through her veins. She turned to Buddy, scratching behind his ears. You did good, boy. Buddy wagged his tail, but his eyes still held something deeper. Something unfinished. Michael noticed it too. You think this is it? He asked Lucy. She shook her head. No. I think this is just the beginning. And for the first time Michael had to agree. She whispered, her voice trembling as she reached out to pat Buddy's head, feeling the heat of adrenaline still coursing through her veins. The moment of silence that followed was eerie. Gunfire had ceased, but its echoes still rang in their ears. Michael stood in the middle of the warehouse, breathing heavily, his gun still raised as he scanned the room. The air was thick with tension, the smell of rust and gunpowder mixing with the metallic scent of fear. The criminals lay subdued, some groaning, others completely still, as the agents moved in to secure them. And then the only sounds left were the soft whimpers of the dogs and the quiet rustling of the cages as the rescued animals stirred. Michael turned, his eyes landing on Buddy. There was something in his expression, a mixture of disbelief and newfound respect. He exhaled, shaking his head. This dog has done more today than some agents do in a lifetime, he muttered, running a hand through his hair. He had spent years in the FBI, seen things that hardened him, made him skeptical. But this was something else. Lucy crouched beside Buddy, scratching behind his ears as she smiled. He knew, boss. He knew we needed to be here. Around them, the agents sprang into action. Cages were opened, bolt cutters slicing through rusted locks as the dogs were freed one by one. Some staggered forward hesitantly, others whimpered in confusion, but a few leaped into the arms of the agents, tails wagging despite the hell they had been through. Lucy felt tears sting the back of her eyes. How long had these animals suffered? How many more were out there waiting for someone like Buddy to find them? Meanwhile, Ryan hunched over the control panel he had accessed earlier, his fingers flying over the keyboard. His brows furrowed as he scrolled through files upon files of documents. Then he froze. "Boss," he called out, his voice tight. Michael strode over, glancing at the screen. Ryan pointed. "This isn't just an abandoned warehouse," he said, his voice laced with urgency. "This is a hub, a central point for something much bigger." He turned the screen toward Michael, revealing a map marked with several locations across multiple states. Shipment logs, financial transactions, coded messages, it was all there. Michael stiffened. "You're telling me this operation isn't just local?" Ryan nodded grimly. "We're looking at a full-scale animal trafficking network, stretching across the country. This is just the tip of the iceberg." Lucy swallowed hard, glancing down at Buddy. The dog, now sitting beside her, panting but alert, had uncovered more than she ever could have imagined. He wasn't just a stray. He was a hero. And now, because of him, the FBI had what they needed to dismantle an entire criminal empire. The news spread like wildfire. It wasn't every day a stray dog helped bring down a massive trafficking ring. Journalists picked up the story, and soon, Buddy became more than just a hero in their eyes. He became a symbol. The dirty, skinny dog that had once wandered the streets alone was now a beacon of courage, a reminder that sometimes, the most unexpected allies could change the course of history. Days later, under the bright sun shining over FBI headquarters, a crowd had gathered. Cameras flashed, reporters whispered, and officials stood in their crisp uniforms. But at the center of it all was Buddy. His coat, now clean and glossy after a proper bath, gleamed in the sunlight. A blue bandana was tied neatly around his neck, and if dogs could understand the weight of a moment, Buddy certainly did. He sat tall, his ears perked, his amber eyes scanning the sea of faces before him. Lucy stood beside him, fidgeting slightly. She was used to the behind-the-scenes work, not the spotlight. But today was different. Today, they weren't just celebrating an operation's success. They were honoring a hero. Michael stepped up to the podium, clearing his throat. For once, his usual stern demeanor had softened. "Today," he began, his voice carrying through the courtyard, "we recognize more than just an FBI operation. We recognize courage, instinct, and the lesson that heroes can come in all forms." He turned slightly, his gaze landing on Buddy. "This dog," he paused, a small smirk playing at the edge of his lips. "Buddy didn't just find a crime scene. He led us to it. He faced danger, stood his ground, and ultimately changed lives." He let the word sink in before continuing. "And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the agent who put her faith in him." He turned toward Lucy. "Agent Lucy Taylor. Without your instinct, without your unwavering belief that this dog was leading us somewhere important, we wouldn't be here today. Against all odds, you trusted your heart. And because of that, justice was served." Applause erupted, but Michael wasn't finished. He gestured, and an agent stepped forward, carrying a small velvet box. Inside was a golden medal attached to a blue ribbon, engraved with the words heroism and service. Michael knelt before Buddy, holding the medal in his hands. "Buddy," he said, his voice quieter now, but no less firm. "You may not know what all of this means, but you do know one thing. You saved lives. And for that, you deserve this." He gently placed the medal around Buddy's neck. For a moment there was silence, then the crowd burst into cheers. Cameras clicked, people clapped, and for the first time in his life, Buddy wagged his tail as if he truly understood. Lucy knelt beside him, her hand resting on his back. "You deserve this, Buddy. Every bit of it." His eyes met hers, warm and steady, as if he understood everything she was saying. But Buddy's impact didn't stop there. The investigation into the trafficking ring unraveled a network that spanned across borders. Arrests were made. Laws were changed. Awareness campaigns surged, and Buddy's story reached millions, inspiring action against animal cruelty. Shelters received more donations, adoption rates soared, and communities became more vigilant in spotting and reporting suspicious activity. Even within the FBI, the case left its mark. Michael, once skeptical of trusting anything outside of hard evidence, learned to value instinct and open-mindedness. Ryan, inspired by the fieldwork, took on a more active role in investigations. And Lucy, well, Lucy gained not just recognition, but a new partner. Because Buddy wasn't just a hero to the public. He was her hero. And as they left the stage together, walking side by side into an uncertain but hopeful future, she knew one thing for sure: he hadn't just changed the world. He had changed hers forever. He wasn't just a national hero. He was her friend, her partner, her constant reminder that even the smallest actions, like stopping to listen to a desperate bark, could set off a chain reaction of change. Buddy had gone from being a lonely stray, wandering the streets in search of scraps, to a symbol of courage, a beacon of hope. His story wasn't just another heartwarming tale, it was proof that doing the right thing, even when the odds seemed impossible, could turn the tide of fate itself. After everything that had happened, Buddy finally had what he had always deserved: a home, safety, and love. No more cold nights curled up in an alleyway. No more hunger gnawing at his stomach. No more lurking danger at every turn. This was his second chance. And Lucy? She knew from the moment she met him that she couldn't let him go. He wasn't just a partner in the field, he was family. That's why, when the mission was over and the world hailed him as a hero, she made the decision that had been in her heart all along. She adopted him. When Buddy first stepped into Lucy's apartment, he paused in the doorway. He wasn't used to places like this, warm, inviting, filled with the scent of home. Slowly, cautiously, he patted inside, sniffing at the edges of the furniture, taking in every detail as if he were still on patrol. It was small but cozy. Sunlight streamed through the windows, casting a golden glow on the soft rug and simple furniture. In the corner, Lucy had set up a space just for him: a plush dog bed, a fresh water bowl, a few toys she had picked out. But Buddy, ever loyal, seemed less interested in any of that. What he wanted, more than anything, was to stay by her side. Lucy knelt down and ran her fingers through his now clean fur. "Welcome home, Buddy," she whispered. He looked up at her with those deep, knowing eyes. And in that moment, she saw something unspoken pass between them, a recognition, a silent promise. He was safe now. He was finally home. The days that followed were full of firsts. For the first time in his life, Buddy had food without having to scavenge for it. For the first time, he had a warm place to sleep without the fear of being chased away. He no longer had to fight for survival. He could simply exist, without fear, without pain. At first, he wasn't sure how to react to all this kindness. When Lucy took him to the park, he hesitated, unsure if he was truly allowed to run free. But with time, he began to change. He learned to play, to trust, to wag his tail not in anticipation of danger, but in pure, unfiltered joy. For Lucy, life changed just as much. The weight of the cases she worked on, the darkness she had witnessed, it all felt lighter now. Because no matter how hard the day had been, she knew that when she came home, Buddy would be there, waiting at the door, tail wagging, eyes shining with unconditional love. He had become her anchor, her reason to keep pushing forward. And she knew deep down that she had needed him just as much as he had needed her. One evening, as they sat on the couch together, Buddy resting his head on her lap, Lucy looked down at him and felt a lump rise in her throat. He had come so far, from a frightened stray to a celebrated hero, from a loner to a beloved companion. And yet, despite all the fame, all the recognition, all the applause, what mattered most was this quiet, peaceful moment. A dog who had once had nothing now had everything. Buddy let out a deep, contented sigh, as if he finally understood that this was forever. That he would never have to face the world alone again. Lucy ran her hand over his head and smiled. "You saved me too, you know," she murmured. And in a way it was true. He had reminded her of the importance of listening, not just with her ears, but with her heart. Of taking chances. Of following the instincts others might ignore. She had saved him from a life of hardship, but in return, he had given her something priceless, a purpose, a bond unlike any other. Buddy's story became a national sensation. But to Lucy, it was so much more than that. It was a lesson. A reminder that courage isn't always about grand gestures. Sometimes it's as simple as stopping to listen. To pay attention to the things others overlook. To care. As news of Buddy's heroic spread, people around the country began to see the world differently. They started looking closer, listening harder. Wondering how many other Buddies were out there, waiting, hoping for someone to believe in them. And slowly, change began to ripple outward. Donations to animal shelters surged. adoption rates skyrocketed, and the world, even just a little bit, became a kinder place. But for Lucy, none of that mattered as much as the simple reality of coming home every day to Buddy's eager greeting. The way he would sit beside her on the couch, pressing against her as if to remind her that he was there, that he wasn't going anywhere. And as she looked into his warm, trusting eyes, she knew one thing for certain: Buddy's story wasn't just about one heroic dog. It was about how one small act of kindness could change the world. And maybe, just maybe, it was a reminder that sometimes the greatest heroes come in the most unexpected forms. But now we want to hear from you. What did you think of Buddy's incredible journey? Have you ever experienced a moment where a small decision led to something bigger than you ever imagined? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your stories. And if this tale touched your heart, don't forget to hit that like button to support the channel and help us spread more inspiring stories just like this one. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss another powerful story. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.